Welcome to our reflection for Saturday, week 11. It's the final reading from St. Paul's second letter to the Corinthians. He's done a lot of boasting this week. He kind of boasts and says he's not boasting. In fact, he is really. But at the end, he talks about the fact that there's a thorn in the flesh of him, that there is some way in which he suffers in a specific way. Some people have postulated the idea that he walked with a limp. Not quite sure how they come up with that. But basically, there was obviously something debilitating about his life that was a real problem, especially for somebody who traveled a lot. It'd be hard enough traveling these days, but in those days, then if you traveling when you were fully healthy was risky and dangerous and difficult. To do it when you had a problem that affected your mobility or affected some aspect of your everyday life, then it was a real problem. St. Paul talks about this thorn in the flesh and says that he has often asked for this to be removed. He's often asked for personal healing, but it has never happened. There's nothing wrong with asking for personal healing. There are times when it's necessary for us to think more about other people than about ourselves, but it's still acceptable for us to pray for healing in our own lives. I remember hearing a story about somebody who went to Lourdes who was quite severely handicapped, and he went sort of almost as a challenge to God. Come on then, you heal me if you're so great. And he keeps this for a couple of days, and then he starts to notice a lot of people who are much worse off than he is. And eventually someone passes him who basically is completely paralyzed, face contorted, in great, great difficulty. And he notices a smile on this person's face. And he says, Lord, heal him, not me. At which point he himself was healed. The moment that he thought about somebody else, he was healed. That's the way that we should be, in the sense that there's nothing wrong with praying for ourselves, so long as we don't pray for ourselves at the exclusion of other people. It's praying for others that is the most important. One problem in the history of the church is that some people have taken this reading from St. Paul and thought, I want to be like Paul, and so have inflicted suffering on themselves. It was a common practice in Middle Ages in monasteries and so on. People would deliberately suffer beyond what was necessary. That is not what was asked for of each one of us. We are asked to accept and take the suffering that comes our way. We are not told to inflict suffering on ourselves, let alone on others. It is simply accepting our situation in life. And so if we are in a situation of comfort, a situation where things work really well for us, then enjoy it. Don't be thinking, I shouldn't be enjoying this because others are suffering. You could stop enjoying. It wouldn't make any difference to the suffering of others. We're simply asked to embrace what life brings to us, its joys and its sufferings. But remember that it's not all about us. We can pray for ourselves, we can pray for release of suffering in our lives, but it's how we fit into the jigsaw that is humanity. It is about recognizing and celebrating the good things in other people's lives and praying for release of suffering. We could perhaps pray, especially today, for the many countries in Africa where COVID-19 seems to be biting back again. Many of these countries have few, if any, vaccines. There's a danger that it could be devastating, wipe out huge numbers of people. We pray for all of these countries, for all of these people. And above all, we pray that those who have vaccines available above and beyond what they need, that they share them with others, not as an act of charity, but simply what we should do for our own preservation. The epidemic will only come to an end when we address the problem everywhere in the world. It's not just my problem. It's not just our problem as a nation. It's the problem of the whole world. And it requires the whole world to come together, not in an act of charity, but in an act of self-preservation. As St. Paul prayed for the suffering in his life to end, we pray for the suffering in the lives of so many people around the world to come to an end, so that we can look to the future with confidence and hopefully take with us some of that sense of togetherness, some of that sense of shared responsibility, and help to build a world of peace. So thank you very much for listening today, and have a great day. God bless.